And thank you for being here. Very brave of you and courageous to stay on till the very end. This is a very special section and a session because I have with me, as all of you know, Sania Mirza, who unarguably is one of India's most delightfully talented individuals who epitomizes limitless in a manner that you and I can't fathom. I'm delighted she chose tennis as her career because she could easily have been a politician or in a cinema industry. So let's start with the beginning. And I don't want to make it mushy, we'll make it fun, no controversies. So I'm not going to ask you any questions that would evoke or stoke controversy. How did this all begin? And what was the one thing that drove you consistently? Because there are many naysayers in our country. You know, I lived in Bengal most of my life. In Bengal, we had a problem for every solution. So that's the mindset we were brought up with. So how did you manage all the obstacles that came your way? And many must have.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for that lovely introduction. You really switched roles really fast because you were really funny about 5 minutes ago and then you went into this whole compare mode right now. It's amazing.
No, that's because I asked her, why didn't she choose tennis as a career? Then when I read the sheet, I discovered she was a tennis player.
To answer your question, 32 years ago is when my parents said, we want our child to play a sport. And, you know, I mean, I'm okay to say my age because it's on Google, so I'm 38 now. And when I was 6, my parents said, you know, boy or girl, it doesn't matter, we'll make them play a sport, which in itself was very weird in those times because especially when you had girls, sport wasn't really something you chose. And when you had boys, they played cricket. So we had a lot of cricketers in our family. And similarly, if I was probably a boy, I would have probably played cricket at that point. But thankfully, that wasn't the case. I was a girl. My parents said, oh, you know what? I used to skate, I used to swim, I used to play tennis. And I happened to be a lot better at tennis than anything else that I ever did. Whether it was, I was good at studies, but I was much better at tennis. I was good at swimming, but I was much better at tennis. And it was always like that, no matter what I did. And a couple of months into me playing, my mom had to actually fight the coach and say, please take her. And he said, she's too small. She's only 6. And she said, but she's my daughter. I want her to play a sport. And my mom's the feisty go-getter. My dad's the more calmer person in the family. And my mom said, I don't care. I want her to play. And after about 2 months, the coach called and said, I've never seen a 6-year-old hit a ball like this. So that was the beginning of the journey of how I happened to choose this path in my life.
So interesting. Now, you talk about the fact that there were encouraging parents, and there were parents who actually went out of the way not to stress academia. Because the problem in India that I've always said is we lay too much of importance on education and very little on knowledge, which is why we have such bright people everywhere around us. And obviously, I'm being sarcastic. But having said that, you know, it's interesting you mention your age. Because I've seen 40 Wimbledon finals, and I'm going to be 62 on May 28. You can all send me wishes. Arnab Goswami is turning 27 tomorrow. So you can send him a wish in advance. But it's interesting, Sania, because I've always believed, unlike cricket, and I have a lot of respect for our cricketers, for their fitness, for their game, and I believe tennis is such an individual, tough sport because you're there alone. How did that ever impact you? Or who were your role models, for instance, at that time?
Well, you know, when you look up Sania Mirza on Google, and I get this question a lot of, you were the first one to do this, and you were the first one to do that, and you're the first one to, you know, whatever it may have been. To answer your question, I didn't have any role models back home at that point because the only other female athlete close to home that I could really look up to, and I think a lot of I see younger people here probably grew up looking up to was PT Usha because she was the only other female
Absolutely.
athletic superstar that we had. But because of lack of social media and electronic media, we didn't really actually know what she looked like. We just heard of PT Usha, So for me, I had to find those role models outside. So for me, Steffi Graf was my role model. For example, growing up, I wanted to be like her. I wanted to hit a forehand like her. I wanted to act like her. And and then one of the biggest compliments in my life that I got was that my forehand was very similar to hers. And that was someone who I was trying to emulate. So I think that today, that is the biggest change that has happened, right? Today, our young girls of today have so many female, especially role models to look up to. Obviously, we've had male athletes, but as females, 25 years ago, we had PT Usha, 30 years ago, then we had Sania Mirza, and now we have Saina Nehwal, PV Sindhu, Mary Kom. I mean, you can name at least 10 girls, Nikhat Zareen, you can name Deepa Karmakar. We couldn't do that 15 years ago. So it goes to show you how far we've come as a nation, especially in encouraging female athletes.
Now, a lot of people, and I don't mean to flatter you, a lot of people look up to you as a role model. I mean, when you were growing up, you had few and far between. When they see you as a role model, what are the one or two things that you would like to impart? Let's say to someone in the audience who has a child who wants to be in the field of sport. What are the two things that you would like to tell them which would help them navigate the world ahead?
Well, I would like to tell, especially parents of young girls, because that's something that I faced and a lot of young athletes in 25 years ago faced was, we have enough people telling us that we can't do something. We just need our parents to tell us that we can. And everything that we do growing up, don't sit like this, don't talk too loudly, don't speak in this manner, you're a girl, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't go out at night, you need to come back at this time. Everything is a don't know, you can't do it. So when you have your parents by your side saying, it doesn't matter how many people say you can't become a tennis player or whatever else you want to be, I'm telling you the confidence that you feel and the kind of inspiration you feel coming from them, that's something that I was very lucky to have. And I would love to tell parents today to try and encourage the young girls to take paths that are out of the ordinary, so to say, and don't be afraid, because so many people tell you, so many people told me I was playing on courts made out of cow dung, and we said we want to play Wimbledon one day. And they laughed at us saying that, are you crazy? And of course they thought we were crazy. And we were a little crazy, I think, to dream of that, to be very honest. But here we are, we got to win Wimbledon, So
here is the thing. You were growing up at a time in Hyderabad. I can see Chandrababu there, who to my mind is not only a person who has promoted industry. Chandrababu Naidu has done more for southern India and for sport than most politicians have done in all their lives. And I don't mean to flatter him because I hardly go to Hyderabad or Telangana, Andhra for that matter. Now, these were people who were encouraging. There were companies that were encouraging. Corporate sponsors were encouraging. Today, how was it at that time? How tough was it? And be brutally honest. This is a Republic platform.
Can I be honest here? It's incredible that Chandrababu Naidu Garu has just walked in here. When I was coming up, he was the chief minister of the state that I was growing up in, and I've had some wonderful interactions with him. We were one of the few states when I was younger, compared to the other states, that actually had incredible sporting infrastructure. We had hosted national games. I mean, this was all at the time. We were talking about 2000. So we're talking about 25 years ago. And the thing is that for us to become a sporting nation, I think we are a cricketing nation. We're not a sporting nation, unfortunately. But for us to become a sporting nation, we need to have a system that supports every sport in this country, and that system obviously comes from right from the top, from the government and, you know, from obviously the states and the country, everything. But also a system that supports young athletes and young parents and showing them the way to how to go about their life. I mean, I didn't know, my parents didn't know 25 years ago what to do. You know, I want to be a tennis player. Okay, and then what do we do about it? There was nobody to go to, you know. So we need to have a system in place in order for us to become a powerhouse of sorts in different sports outside of cricket as well.
But it's also interesting, if you look at performance sports, whether it's Andhra then, Telangana today and Andhra today, you know, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, they have contributed a lot to individual sporting sports. You know, whether it's tennis, whether it's badminton, chess. Somehow in Delhi, we were all doing kabaddi and kho-kho. Hopefully that will change because we had to dodge so many people on our way anywhere. What makes it so special about that part of India? Because today I have to say, and again, I'm no votary of the BJP or the Congress, what Narendra Modi has done for the Olympic movement, what he has done for sports, is worthy of great credit. The tragedy is the BJP, which has excellent spokespeople, is the worst communicator of its own achievements. And I've said that time and over again. But what Modi ji has done, and I'm seeing, Sania, year after year, more and more people are now committed to sports and the transparency within sports. Where do you see, and now you've got a brilliant career ahead as a pickleball owner. For those of you who are not from Punjab, as I am, pickleball has nothing to do with aam ka achar. It's a different sport created by America and brought to the world. So tell us about your pickleball ownership.
No, I think we'll get into the pickleball later, but yes, I second what you're saying, and that is the reason, going back to the first point that I made of how many young champions that we have today, how many brilliant athletes we have today that we can look up to as global superstars. And obviously we've had that in cricket, but I'm talking about outside of cricket, and that's where we were really lacking over the last hundreds of years. So the fact is that goes to show you that when the system gets involved, the kind of success you actually get. And you're 100% right about what you said about our great Prime Minister. And pickleball is a sport that a lot of people actually think is going to is become super popular. First of all, I don't know how many people know pickleball here, guys.
How many people? Raise your hand. Very few people. But remember, this is largely a Delhi audience. If you told them how many of you know pickle without the ball, all the hands would go up. See, there you are. Okay, then. And how many people have been put in a pickle, all the hands would go up.
No, pickleball is just played on a smaller court. It's a cross between paddle, table tennis and tennis, and it's actually a super family and social sport, which is humongous in America. That's where it started from. A lot. Andre Agassi and Steffi Graf, biggest ambassadors today, playing in front of thousands of people, playing these exhibition matches. Andy Roddick's playing. So all the ex-tennis players and a lot of current tennis players actually are moving to pickleball a little bit at the end of their careers, but it is a game for a lot of people to go with their families, to make a lot of friends. It's a very social kind of game. Lots of fun. I don't know if it has the potential to become a humongous like Olympic sport or whatever, but I do think it has the potential to definitely bring people out of their iPads and TVs and come on and live a healthier life.
As we end, I can see Rini Simon from the corner of my left eye gradually climbing the stage to tell us to get off. And I also see there's 1 minute, 10 seconds left. But I want to thank you, Sania, for three things. For being Sania Mirza, for being feisty, and for being a limitless Indian.
Thank you.
And I must say, Arnab, and your entire team, enough in this country is discussed through the prism of negativity. But there is a lot of good that this country has and that this country will remain to have. We are not just a limitless nation, we are a nation at the threshold of legitimate greatness and glory. We need to recognize that, we need to celebrate that, and we need to stop being cynical. We need to be proud of every Sania Mirza, as we must be proud of every Narendra Modi and every Chandrababu Naidu. We must be proud of our people. The fact is, we are ready to pick fault when actually we must celebrate greatness. On that note, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a splendid evening, and you will see two great architects, Chandrababu and then the Prime Minister, and in between two great artists. And I hope you have a splendid evening. Thank you, and may God bless India forever.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Suhail and Sania, a conversation proving that champions are not just measured by victory.